With the 15th pick and with the 26th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Dwayne Haskins, Montez Sweat.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sister. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Luke. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report Live. How y'all doing today, man? Hopefully this video reaches you in great spirits. A lot is going on, man. Hopefully you and yours are staying safe out there. It's a lot going on in the National Football League as well. A lot going on with our Redskins. Today would have been the 37th birthday of one Sean Taylor. It's amazing that his career had the impact it did in such a short period of time. His death has been so profound in many of our lives as Redskins fans, hell, just football fans in general. And today would have been his 37th birthday. You know what's crazy is I don't know if he would have still been playing or not. Probably not, if I had to guess. But it just seemed like with his amount of talent, even if he would have slowed down, after a while, he still seemed like he would have been better than most safeties in the league. He probably would have hung it up about 3 or 4 years, prior to, his 37th birthday. But it's amazing to see the legend of Sean Taylor grow and the life that it's taken on since his passing, because there are a lot of people that, talk about Sean Taylor. They really didn't even see him play, but that's the impact that he had in such a short period of time. And if you look at a lot of the young safeties in this league, most of them will tell you the guy that they idolized, the guy that they grew up watching and wanted to play like and emulated growing up, Sean Taylor. I mean, hell, look at Landon Collins. Part of the reason he's here in Washington, Sean Taylor. DJ Swearinger, Ward 36 here. Why? Because of Sean Taylor. He was so impactful, and his legend continues to grow, but his legacy, more importantly, will forever live on through Redskins fans like you, myself, and all of those out there that continue to make sure that his presence continues to be felt. So, hey, Sean, you're up there watching. Rest in peace. Continue to rest in peace and know that we will never let your name die. But that being said, it is April the 1st. And so that means we are less than 22 days away from the 2020 NFL Draft getting underway. Tomorrow will mark essentially 3 weeks from the draft. And I am looking forward to getting it over with. As you can tell, there are so many things that have taken place to this point, that a lot of people didn't see coming. That's part of the reason why these general managers around the league, a unanimous vote was taken, and GMs all around the league wanted this thing pushed back. They wanted to have a chance to try and meet with some of these prospects to get physicals on these guys and to get a better feel for whether these guys fit in their scheme, their system, their team organization, and so forth. And Roger Goodell made a great point. There aren't many times that I'm going to agree with Roger Goodell on any issues regarding this league, but I felt like he was spot on when he said, look, there's no timetable for this thing and when we'll actually be able to get to a level of normalcy that will allow players and prospects to come to your facility and be tested and get physicals and sit down and have the kind of meetings that you're accustomed to having with these players. So there's no reason to push the draft back. What are you going to do? Push it back a month? It could be worse a month from now. What are you going to do? Push it back 2 months? It could be worse 2 months from now. What are you going to do? Push it back 3 months? I mean, then you get into the territory of now you're impacting the start of the regular season. So I agree with Roger Goodell here. There is no real benefit to pushing this back. There is no timetable. It's not like you can say, okay, in 2 weeks it's going to be better. They're going to have a vaccine. You're going to be fine. And so push it out 2 weeks and then we should be ready to rock and roll. There is no timetable. No one actually knows anything regarding that. So I'm glad the draft, and I already did a video on this, and I already told you that there won't be a tough decision for the NFL to make until we get to July, and then we start talking about training camps and large gathering of players coming together And that's when the NFL is going to have to start making some tough decisions. Until then, they don't have a tough decision to make. OTAs aren't going to take place. Mini camps aren't going to take place. But the draft doesn't have to change. I told you that free agency didn't need to change. They didn't change that. Doesn't seem like they're going to change the draft either. And so I think everything's going to go off without a hitch. And thus, the Redskins are going to have to make a decision at number 2. And you guys heard, and a lot of you got kind of bent out of shape, and a lot of you had your blood pressure raised all over again. I already forewarned you a while back that this was going to happen. There's more to come. All right, you're still 3 weeks out. There are going to be a lot of mock drafts. There are going to be a lot of reports. There are going to be a lot of things that come out that make you think the Redskins are going to do something crazy. Now, look, I've already told you this. All right, do not ignore the fact that the Redskins are open to trading the number 2 pick, because they are. All right, I've never said that they weren't going to trade the number 2 pick. All right, I do not want them to, but you have to listen to everything. If there is a package out there, all right, that consists of multiple number 1s, a couple of deuces, and maybe a 4 or a 5 or something like that, you have to start listening, all right? While Chase Young is this player that I think can change the game, I've told you I think this guy is a game changer, all right? I've told you this. I feel this way, which is why I've been so adamant about the Redskins staying at 2 and taking Chase Young. While that is the case, if a team comes at you with this ridiculous package that allows you to take advantage of a situation where you might still be able to get a really good football player, an elite football player at that, and still be able to rape someone and essentially hoard their drafts for years to come. You gotta take that into consideration. If the Dolphins are like, hey, look, we got 3 first-rounders this year. We can't give you all of our first-rounders this year, but tell you what we will do. We'll give you 2 of them from this year. We'll give you another one next year. And in addition to that, we'll give you a 2 this year. We'll give you a 2 next year, and we'll give you a 3 the year after that. Like, yeah, you gotta consider that. You know, that's 3 first-round picks. That's 2 second-round picks, and a 3rd down the road. Like, you gotta kind of consider that at that point. So, I'm just saying. You know where I stand. I've said this many a times. So, there's that. But you know what I wanted to start this show off with before we get to all of the festivities this evening, and I'm going to go through the comment section after I throw this out there to you guys. So I've told you this numerous times in speaking with you guys throughout the videos that I've done, that there have been a lot of Redskins fans really disappointed with this offseason. So what I want from you quickly, all right, and I don't need much, just a number, all right, 1 through 5. We've done this before. We're going to do this exercise once more. All right, 1 through 5. 5 being static, no change. All right. 1 being I have 0 confidence. All right. So 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. What is your confidence level in Ron Rivera and Kyle Smith after this free agency period? Okay. Because I want to see where you guys are. Are you still confident that they're building a roster that's going to help this team win? Not necessarily in 2020, but are you still confident that they're building a roster that can help this team win and are putting the pieces of the puzzle together, a foundation, if you will, that will allow this team to start to compete in 2021 and potentially start, and maybe they might arrive a year early. I've contended all along that you won't see a team on the field I generally believe that has a legitimate shot of doing some serious damage until 2022. I think that's the first year where we go into the season looking to start doing some work. I'm looking at teams. I'm creating a hit list. I'm looking to scratch off names. I'm going to start looking at teams like food. Okay, I'm going to start being overconfident in 2022. That's the timeline I've set for this team and Ron Rivera and this project that he's undertaken. I'm looking for this thing to be ready to start cutting through some of these teams like a hot knife through butter in 2022. I haven't changed. All right, I'm still at a 5. In Ron, I trust. That's been the moniker since he got here. It has not changed. I love Kyle Smith. I think he's doing an excellent job. I don't love this offseason group of guys they've brought in. All right. But that does not change how I feel about this team, about the direction. I love the fact that Quentin Dunbar didn't want to be here and they got rid of him. I would have liked if they had got some more for him, but the message was heard loud and clear. You don't want to be here? Cool. We'll move on from you. I love the fact that they're not giving in on this Trent Williams situation. Look, he doesn't want to be here either, but he's not Quentin Dunbar. He's Trent Williams. There's a big difference. You must get value for him, and if you don't, he's either going to play here for us or he won't play. It's as simple as that. And so I like what they're doing there. I like the fact that they said Monte Nicholson doesn't fit in with what we're doing. We're going to move on from him. And I like the direction that they're moving in. I like the fact that the guy that's picking the players here, and Kyle Smith, has did a fantastic job of picking players in the past. And so I have nothing but the utmost confidence in him and his ability come draft time that he's going to bring some guys in here that can actually help this team moving forward. And I love the fact that this coaching staff that they've put together with Del Rio and company is going to most likely highlight the talent that we already have. All right, and so I like everything that they've built to this point. Obviously, we haven't seen them on the field. All right, but I haven't changed. I'm static. It's a 5. I'm not going to move off of that spot until otherwise notified, until they give me a reason to not believe. All right, I feel good about this team and where we are right now. And so, and I think we'll have, and I'll revisit this question after the draft, because you may be at a 3 right now, and then after the draft, you may be back up to a 5. You know, these things are fluid. I understand. For some of you, you're very impulsive. And so it can change on a whim. And that's okay. That's what makes up a fan base. Not everyone's going to feel the same about the team and the direction of the team and the way things are done. Everyone has their own opinion. As long as we all understand that we're here for one common goal, and that's to see the success of the Washington Redskins and ultimately having it culminate in a Super Bowl, that's what matters most. So with that being said, I'd like to run down this list real quick, see if there are some numbers out here, rattle off a few of those, and then we'll get to some super chats if we have any to get the night kicked off. But yeah, we got some numbers in here. Brandon McCloskey says he's a 5. Valor Watts is a 4. Redskins Die Hard fan is a 4. Theo E is a 4. Big John 512 is a 5. Ricky Velarda is a 4. Timothy Wells is a 4. Aiden Hall is a 5. R. Gunner is a 4. Jordan Like the Goat is a 5. Newt NSWT is a 5. LC is a 5. Terrell Miller is an 8. Leon Jackson II is a 5. Peyton the Great is a 3.5. Okay. Wayne Dews is a 3. Donovan Gregory is a 4. Stanley Smith is a 5. W. Figueroa is a 4. Rashad Brooks is a 4. Laquan Steele is a 5. He says because we're building for the future. Leo Suarez is a 5. Tony P56 is a 6. Leo Suarez says 5 because Bruce Allen is gone. So there's that as well. Barrett Downings is a 5. He said there's a plan. Chris Liu says 7 for the confidence level. Ron's plan. Ron's plan. That's right. He says I do trust them. Indeed. Travis D says 2.5 to 3.5 confidence level right now. So he's wavering a bit. Maybe this draft will reel him back in. DMV fan 123 is a 5. So those are just a few numbers out there. Nathan Foster is a 4. James Bond is a 1. So James right now not feeling the offseason, really not liking the direction that the team is going in. Feels like this is a Bruce Allen type of offseason. You're not wrong in feeling that way, but I still have confidence, and hopefully you will feel the same once the games get underway. William is a 3. Stephen Shropshire is a 5, says we good. Got to trade Trent soon, though. He's sick of that nonsense. I get that as well. Christian Sordo is a 3. Sonny Rawson is a 6 to a 7. So a lot of you, Dwayne Talley 5, Dominic Garland 5, Boba Sis 5, Zimba Sexy 1, a 7, Julian Ship a 4, Farrah Cody is a 10. A 10! You hear that? A 10. So JP is a 10. So he's right there with Farah. Outlaw King 757 a 5. Lee Murray a 5. The list goes on and on. Captain Gaiman a 5. Tom Hummel a 5. Lee Murray a 5 as well. So that's just to throw out a few numbers that some of you are feeling. And I'm with a lot of you guys. There were most of you pretty much feel like this hasn't swayed you in the opposite direction. You understand that there's a plan in place, whatever that plan may be. I've told you what I think Ron's plan is already. So we're going to continue to see it grow. And I'm looking forward to this draft, getting it over with, all of the speculation, all of the rumors, all of the things that you're going to hear more of as we get closer to April 23rd. I'm just ready for it to be done with. Redskins do something, whether it is trade out number 2 or select Chase Young, which is what I ultimately think will happen. But nonetheless, I'm looking forward to getting the draft over and done with so we can analyze what the Redskins did in the draft and see how this roster looks after they've acquired another 7 or 8 guys via the draft, and then kind of start looking at this roster as a whole after the draft has met its conclusion. So with that being said, let me set the table now. Thank you for all you guys out there, gals, and your participation in that quick question that I threw out to start the show off. I now want to go ahead and open up the phone lines. So I'll throw that out there and give you the rundown quickly. Make sure that you like this video. Subscribe to the Louis T Network if you haven't already done so. If you're out there, you want your comment read, if we get to that portion of the show, make sure you use the hashtag Louis T Live. Make sure you're behaving yourselves in the chat, all right, and being cordial with one another. But if you're going to call in, make sure that, first of all, number 1, super chats. They supersede everything else. That's why they're called super chats. So they come first. All right, so super chats will be read in the order that they come, and I want to thank all of you in advance for your super chats, and we'll address each and every single one of those super chats as they come in. Secondly, are the phone lines. Make sure that if you call in, you've got a secure line. Make sure your volume is up so everyone can hear you clearly. Make sure you have a point that you state concisely and are able to get in, get out, so we can get on to the next caller or get to the next super chat, whatever the case may be. And then lastly, it's the comment section. Use the hashtag Louis T Live to have your comment read on the air if we are able to get to some comments tonight. You know how it goes. Those super chats, phone lines usually are lit. So probably won't get to many comments. But again, if you're out there, leave comments either way. But let me say this. A new episode of the podcast last week. Dropped that, had some Redskin content up there for you guys that want to hear Redskin stuff, some things that we haven't talked about on any of the shows that we've done. So you might want to check that out. Louis T Network podcast, available anywhere podcasts are found. So check that out as well. But let's get to the proceedings this evening. We've got super chats to attend to, so I want to get to those. And we start the day off with, let's see, the first super chat to get us kicked off tonight is from my man, Chris Lou. Thank you so much for the super chat, Chris Lou. I know it's late over there, bro. I know it's late and you staying up and it's great. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, Chris Lou. My man Chris writes, can't wait for the draft. Already ate all my nails. Hey, look, I think everyone's nervous about draft. Right now, I'm going to be calm. I'm so calm right now. Nothing that is said, no rumors that come out moves me right now because I know it's lying season. However, I'm going to be so nervous. I'm going to be a nervous wreck when the Redskins are officially on the clock for the number 2 pick because anything could happen in that 10 to 15 minute span that they have to make that selection. They could trade out of the pick. And then if they do trade, how far back are they going? Because we keep assuming it's Miami. It's Miami. It's Miami. They got the most to give up. What if it's not Miami? What if it's Carolina? What if it's the Chargers? Like, what if it's some team that we're not even thinking about? Like, how far back are the Redskins willing to go? I think it's got to be the Dolphins or a bust, to be honest with you. But who's to say, you know? And if the rumors are true that the Redskins, and I told you, I've said this already. If the Redskins are to trade back, the guy that I want is Isaiah Simmons. To me, that's the guy that makes the most sense. He's the next best defensive player in this draft, if you ask me. You know, and depending on who you ask, you might get different answers. But for me, the second best defensive player in this draft is Isaiah Simmons. You ask Clinton Portis, he'll tell you that that's the best defensive player in this draft. But I'm not going to be nervous until we get to the draft and the Redskins are on the clock. Then I'll have butterflies in my stomach, as I always do. It's going to be intensified because it's the number 2 pick overall. But I'm always nervous when the Redskins get on the clock. So it won't be any different from that standpoint anyway. But nonetheless, thank you for the super chat, Chris Lou. And I appreciate you joining us late. And it's still great, even late. All right, man. Appreciate you. Next super chat is from Big John 512. Appreciate you, Big John 512. Thank you for the super chat. Big John writes, happy B-Day, my brother. Hope you're having a great day. That's for your hard work. I appreciate that. Today is not my birthday, however. And I saw you left that comment. Today is Sean Taylor's birthday. All right. I'm a July baby, so I can't take credit for having my birthday be April 1st. But today is Sean Taylor's birthday, and hopefully Meest is up in heaven, enjoying another B-Day. Sad that he's not doing it here on earth in the flesh, but his spirit remains a strong force among Redskins fans, and so today would have been his 37th birthday. But I thank you for the super chat, Big John. Greatly appreciate that. Next super chat is from Brendan McCloskey. Thank you for the super chat, Brendan McCloskey. Greatly appreciated, Brendan. Brendan writes, what's good, Louie? Whatever the Skins decide to do, I will be behind them. For the first time in a long time, I have confidence in a coaching staff. HTTR. I'm with you as well. I feel the exact same way. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and act like I wouldn't be disappointed if they didn't take Chase Young. And it's not like they would just take someone else at 2. You know, that's the only way I would be beside myself and utterly dismayed at the organization, is if they didn't trade out of 2 and somehow they didn't end up with Chase Young. You know, but that's not going to happen. It's either Chase Young at 2 or you're trading out of the pick. And because I have to assume Cincinnati's going to take Joe Burrow at 1. That's a foregone conclusion for me. So he'll be there, and there's no way the Redskins are passing on him unless they trade out. And like you said, if they trade back, yeah, I'll be disappointed. But like you said, I will be on board with whatever they do. You know, as long as the deal that they get trading back is a good one that we view as fair compensation for trading out of the number 2 pick, and more importantly, trading away from one of the best talents defensively we've seen in the draft, probably since Von Miller, you know, Khalil Mack. So Khalil Mack was 2011, I believe, in that draft. No, 11 draft was, I think that was that draft with Clowney number 1 and Khalil Mack and all of those guys. I think J.J. Watt was in that draft as well. Kerrigan was in that 11 draft, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I think that was the draft. That was Khalil Mack in the 2013 draft. I think he was in the 13 draft. I think Clowney and Khalil Mack were in the 13 draft. Oh, no, they were in the 14 draft. I'm getting my drafts mixed up. I know the 2011 draft was the Ryan Kerrigan, J.J. Watt draft. That was the Cam Newton draft at number 1, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I think Von Miller was in that draft as well. That was a hell of a draft. Anyway, but I think 2014 was Clowney and Khalil Mack, and I don't think we've seen an edge rusher come out of the draft, or a defensive player for that matter, the likes of a Chase Young since 2014. And I know Myles Garrett was a really good defender and highly graded and rated, and so were the Bosas in each of their drafts. But this is a different type of guy here. And so you'd have to get some tremendous compensation if you're going to trade out at number 2. But I, like you, would be fine. I'd get over it, and you know, and then the attention would move to, okay, who we taking at number 5 or wherever we traded back to, and then what else compensation did we acquire for this year's draft, and what are we going to do with those? So you would have to switch your thinking at that point and kind of move forward. And I'd have confidence that, you know, Kyle Smith and company would bring good football players into the mix, and we just go from there. But I'm with you, Brendan. I'd be behind them whatever they decide to do. Barrett Downing, my man BD, thank you for the super chat as always. Thank you for holding it down, BD. My man Barrett writes, stay with Chase because he could potentially make the secondary better with his presence, not to mention improve the front four. Respect for what you do. I appreciate that, BD. As always, respect for what you do as well. And I think you're spot on. I think not just the secondary, but like you mentioned, the front four as well for all the guys around him, even the linebackers. He makes the entire defense better. Everybody's job becomes that much easier when there's a guy like Chase Young in the mix. And it's not always about sacks. You know, sometimes it's about the pressure. It's about disrupting the timing of a play. It's about that team having to change their game plan to make sure that they can handle Chase Young and that one guy that can wreck their game plan. So now, instead of, and I talked about this before, so I don't want to keep beating this horse dead because, again, I've talked about this ad nauseum, but the way he can change the game, it's a domino effect. You know, having that extra offensive player, having to stay in and block and taking away 20% of the other team's eligibles on any given snap. That's huge. We haven't had a guy that has forced the team to have to do that. You know, most teams feel really confident that if the Redskins don't blitz, we're pretty good with our front five, our five guys. We don't need jet protection to keep our quarterback safe. We don't need to keep the tight end or the back end to make sure that the quarterback stays upright. We feel pretty good, and if you come with just four, we should be able to protect with five, and our guys should be able to get out into the route and make something happen. You come with four, and Chase Young's one of those four guys, it changes things. Now you're thinking, maybe I need to keep another guy in, or at least Chip, you know. Now everybody else has got one-on-one matchups, you know, and if they can't win, then we need to get new guys in here. But I'd like to think that Deron Payne, I'd like to think that Matt Ioannidis, I'd like to think that Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Ryan Kerrigan, these guys are going to win their fair share of one-on-one matchups. You give them enough one-on-one situations, and I'd like to think that they're going to win and win big and give this defense a chance to create some turnovers in some situations where we're not the worst defensive team in the league on third downs, getting off the field. I think that changes with the Chase Young. So I'm with you 110%, Barrett Downing. Thank you once again for the super chat. Got another super chat. This one from Chris Sicarius. Thank you for the super chat, Chris. Greatly appreciate it. My man Chris writes, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate our free agents. If you want me to do it individually, I can't remember all of them. I'll try to run off as many of them as possible. 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. Let's see. So the first day, if I'm not mistaken, of the tampering period, the Redskins re-signed John Bostic. That's a 5. You know, he was really good. I told you I liked him as a backup option at the linebacker position, so that's a 5. They also brought in Wes Schweitzer, some guard depth. That's about a 4 or 5. You know, I'm not a big Wes Schweitzer fan, but he's versatile, and that's one of the things Rivera has talked about when he got here was versatility. He wants guys that can play multiple positions, can do multiple things. And Wes Schweitzer is a guy that can play all 3 interior offensive line positions. So it's about a 4 or 5. And then also in that group, I think Kendall Fuller happened that night, if I'm not mistaken. I may be missing someone there, but Kendall Fuller, to me, that was about a 7. That was the guy we wanted to bring home. We never wanted him to leave in the first place. I really liked bringing Kendall Fuller back. Now, I'm anxious to see, because I wasn't paying the same amount of attention to Kendall as we were when he was here the first time. So I got to make sure that these goods aren't damaged. Like, he's not coming back here a different guy. But if he's the same old Kendall Fuller, then that might be even more so 8, 8.5, you know. But right now it's a 7 because I just don't know what we're getting. If he's the guy that left us here that was becoming an elite slot defender, then that's really comforting to know. Then you go out, you get Kevin Pierre-Louis. I'd say Bears fans have been trying to convince me that this guy is legit. I'd beg to differ. He's on like his 5th or 6th team in a very brief NFL career. There's a reason why he's not sticking. But look, doesn't mean he hasn't gotten better and that he wasn't a key contributor on that Bears defense last year that had some injuries. I'd put him at a 6. You know, because even if he's not a key contributor defensively, I know he's going to be a key contributor on specials. So I like the move, gives us some depth there, and he's an athlete. I do know that as well. So I give him about a 6, a 5, a 6, somewhere in there. So then there's a bevy of 3s Cornelius Lucas for me is a 3. Richard Rodgers is a 3. You got the Virginia Tech, Buffalo Bill, Detroit Lion tight end. I always forget his name. Ex-quarterback out of Virginia Tech. He's a 3. You got Thomas Davis is about a 5 or a 6. Again, I know a lot of you think that he's this, great 37-year-old. There's no such thing as a great 37-year-old, unless your name's Tom Brady. Most guys at 37 aren't playing at a ridiculously high level. Yep, he led the Chargers in tackles last year. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. Bottom line is he's here to help lead this team. He's here to help instill Ron's plan. He's here to help with leadership and all those things. So that's a 6 right off the bat. Darby for me is a 4. Injuries and his talent. I would have much rather kept Quentin Dunbar. If you're asking me, Dunbar is a better player than Ronald Darby. So that's a 4 for me. I know I'm missing a ton of guys. We signed a bunch of dudes. So bear with me if I forget. Nate Orchard, bringing him back was cool, but that's a 4. Let's see. J.D. McKissick. I love that move. That's a 6 for me. You know what? That's a little high. 5.5 for J.D. McKissick. If Kendall Fuller is a 7, then J.D. McKissick is a 5.5. But I really like that move. I do. Maybe I need to make Kendall an 8 and J.D. a 6. That's how good I feel about J.D. McKissick. Sean Davis. That's a 5. It's a prove-it deal. So it's right in the middle. It's a 5. This is a guy that, he's solid. He's not great. He's not he's not an earth-shattering signing. It's a prove-it deal. So that's a 5 for me. So again, a lot of these are mediocre signings. Right around average to below average. So I'm pretty sure I forgot a couple of guys, but Peyton Barber, that's a 4 because I don't expect him to make this roster, barring injury. That's a 4 for me. So there you have it. So and the free agency class as a whole is a 4. All right. So it's below average, but we'll see. They're going to get a chance to compete. It's all a part of Ron's plan. So Ron's plan. Let's see. Let's get to the next super chat. Let's see where we are first and foremost. So the next super chat is from Timothy Wells. Thank you for the super chat, Timothy. Greatly appreciate it. My man Timothy writes, Lou, been watching tape on Logan Thomas. I think he might be able to do some good things. Thoughts? P.S. You still look like Doxson, kid. That's never going to change. And as I've said before, I'll say it again. Josh Doxson looks like me. I'm older than him. I was able to grace this earth with my presence first. So Josh Doxson looks like me. Now, he has more money than me. He's more famous than me. But he looks like me. And yes, we do look like one another. Okay? That is a fact. I will not deny it. That is not going to change anytime soon. Josh Doxson looks like me. Yes. But to your point, Logan Thomas, he's got talent. I never said he didn't have talent. He's still raw. So there is hope that the best is yet to come from Logan Thomas. But at the tight end position, usually in this league, you have a window where either you're going to be really good in this league or you're not. And there's usually about a good 3-year period there. All right. Normally, if you're an elite tight end, you usually hit the ground running. At some point during your first or second season, you bust through the packaging at some point and you announce your arrival and everybody is put on notice. All right. It didn't take long for Zach Ertz. It didn't take long for Travis Kelce. It didn't take long for George Kittle to put the rest of the league on notice. Like, hey, I'm here. All right. And you're going to have to deal with me for the next decade. All right. Tony Gonzalez, all of these guys that, Antonio Gates that are Hall of Fame legends. Same thing. They got in the league and you knew quick right away. Oh, shit. Here it goes. Now, there are some late bloomers like the Raiders tight end, Darren Waller. He made the transition from wide receiver. It took him about 3 years, but he figured it out. Now, he's a premier pass-catching tight end in this league. All right? And maybe, just maybe, Logan Thomas can follow in his footsteps. Take him a little while to make that transition. Remember, Logan Thomas was a quarterback for the first couple of years in this league. All right. Then he made the transition to tight end. It is not easy to switch from quarterback to tight end. That's what guys usually do in college, which is what Jordan Reed did. All right. Normally, that's where you make the transition. You normally don't make that transition in the pros. So it's tough because at least in college, you get enough tutelage and enough training there where you can make that transition smoothly. And even if there's some bumps in the road, you've got the nurturing care of your coaches there to help you. At the pros, these guys, they got jobs that they are fighting for, and they got livelihoods at stake. They don't have time to sit there and help you put the training wheels on and then finally get to a point where you can take the training wheels off. Either you're going to help produce now, or they got to get somebody else in here that can. So it's hard to make that transition in the league. And so having him go through this process while being a pro is tough. And maybe the Redskins, just maybe, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, maybe the Redskins can be the team that actually is able to take advantage of the fruits of some of these other teams' labor in trying to get Logan Thomas to be a productive tight end in this league. Maybe the light bulb finally comes on here in DC. I'm not saying it won't and that it can't. I'm just saying that it probably is not likely, okay? He can do some good things, and I've watched him enough to know what he has the capability of doing. However, I don't think that you're going to see this big, massive breakout season from him this year with the Redskins, or even next year, depending on how long he's here in the nation's capital. So as of right now, the Redskins don't have a TE1 on their roster. They don't. Nobody on this roster resembles a credible tight end number one. So there's that. But thank you for the super chat, Timothy Wells. We'll see if Logan Thomas can bring something to the table or not. He's talented. I've already stressed that. But it's all about him putting it all together. Jeremy Sprinkle is talented. I know a lot of you like to shit on Jeremy Sprinkle. Sprinkle me, bitch. Sprinkle me. I know a lot of you like to shit on Jeremy Sprinkle. And for good reason. He's inconsistent as hell. Jeremy Sprinkle has talent, though. All right? But he hasn't been able to put it all together. Same thing with Logan Thomas. All right? Thank you for the super chat. Azzy, or AZ. Thank you for the super chat, AZ. Greatly appreciated, AZ. AZ writes, a lot of teams could use a tackle. I'm thinking Trent gets dealt day one of the draft. You're right. A lot of teams could use a tackle. A lot of teams are looking at the draft as a place where they can acquire a tackle as well. Again, if a team is to acquire Trent Williams, it's one that feels like their window of opportunity for winning a Super Bowl is here and now. And Trent Williams has to fit in that team's time frame. All right. There's a timeline that every team has. And, you know, the Minnesota Vikings, we've heard a lot of rumors surrounding them of late as a team that's interested. That's the kind of team that would trade for Trent Williams. You know, a team that feels like, okay, we won a playoff game last year. We're close. And a guy like Trent Williams may be able to help pull us over the top if he's healthy. That's the kind of team that is going to be looking for Trent Williams. You know, but more teams than not are going to be saying to themselves, it's a deep tackle class. We're going to wait and see if we can get a guy in the draft. And if we don't, then you may come calling and see if the Redskins are willing to accept fill in the blank for Trent Williams. You know, nobody really wants to give up draft capital this year. But after the draft, because no one goes into the season thinking, hey, we're going to be a bad football team and our pick next year is going to be a top 10 pick. Nobody goes into the season thinking that way. Everyone thinks, why not us? So if that's the case, you're willing to bet on yourself and you're willing to give up draft capital for the future. So, but the Redskins aren't interested in accepting draft capital for 2021 when the 2020 draft hasn't taken place yet. We want immediate dividends. All right. Now, we want it now. All right. It's our pick and we want to use it now. So if you have a chance to get something for him for this year's draft, that's what you want to do. Now, once this draft passes and teams are like, we already spent all our draft picks, but we'll give you one for next year's draft. The Redskins, I'm pretty sure they'll be open at that point to taking that. And you'll probably get higher value for him at that point, especially if a team misses out on the tackle position or a guy that they really wanted wasn't there when they weren't, ready to select. And so here they are in a position where they feel like they really need to upgrade the tackle position. And here Trent Williams is staring them in the face. But at the end of the day, if I'm the Redskins, you try to get draft capital for this year's draft. If you can't, I say you hold on to them until after the draft and see if there's a team that's desperate enough to give you some draft capital for next year. And that's why the Redskins should have traded him during the trade deadline last year, because the Browns were thinking, hey, we could turn this around, and they ended up with a top 10 pick, and we could have had 2 top 10 picks. Not one, but 2 top. Think about where we would have been if we. I hate bringing that up because it's frustrating, but again, that's the thing that you have to take into consideration is teams are going to think, well, we're not going to stink next year, so we'll give you our 2 for next year, and then they end up stinking, and it's the 3rd pick in the 2nd round, and you're thinking, yes, it's the same thing we did with the Colts last year. We wanted to have we wanted to go get Montez Sweat so bad that we were like, hey, we'll give you our 2nd round pick next year. We're not gonna stink this upcoming season. So that 2nd round pick will be back into the 2nd round. And we turned out to be one of the worst teams in the league. So that ended up being the 2nd pick in the 2nd round. And you're like, God damn it, that 2nd round pick looks really juicy right now. Well, no one counts on stinking, all right? No one counts on being funky. So you're willing to give up future draft capital because you think you're going to make that draft capital as insignificant as possible until you stink and realize, damn, we gave up some really good draft capital. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for the super chat, AZ. JP, my man John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. My man JP writes, how do you think Jack Del Rio will use Kerrigan in the 4-3, even though Chase Young will most likely start opposite Montez Sweat? You don't jump to conclusions right off the bat. The NFL is one of those leagues where they make guys prove it. I would not be shocked that early on in the season, one of those 2 guys isn't starting. Whether it's Chase Young or it's Montez Sweat, it wouldn't shock me at all if Kerrigan's still starting. And one of those guys is going to have to actually wrestle away the starter's position from Kerrigan. Again, all of these guys are going to play. They're going to be in a rotation that's going to be rotating in and out very heavily. However, starting is a big thing for guys, especially when you've started all of your life. And eventually, one of the young guys, they're going to wrestle away the starting position from Kerrigan. Initially, though, it would not shock me in the least if one of these guys started out on the bench, and they'll still be in on that first series, unless it's a 3-and-out, or they'll still be in on that first series of downs, at 3rd down, and they decide, all right, Kerrigan, you come on out, we're going to sub in Montez, or come on out, we're going to sub in Chase for this 3rd down package. Or maybe, Kerrigan, you stay on the field, one of these D tackles, you come out, and we're going to put Kerrigan on the field along with Sweat and Chase Young all at the same time and see if we can't get pressure. I would love to see Kerrigan rush from the interior on 3rd downs. On obvious passing situations, I think Kerrigan can win with some quickness on the inside. He loves that rip move to the inside. I'd love to see him try it against a guard that can't keep up with his quickness. And I think he could win some situations inside or his bull rush. He loves to go with that bull rush. And I could see him overpowering a guard or a center, on a rush, and having all those guys on the field at once. So a lot of different things you can do with all the guys we have up front. And that's the fun thing about having such a potentially corrosive and explosive and dynamic front, is that there's so many things you can do with these guys, stunts and twists, and so many guys you can put on the field together and overload a side. I mean, think about a package where Sweat and Chase Young are on the same side, and let's say you come with a backer, and let's say that you line up Chase Young off the edge, and let's say he's in a 3-point stance. He's got his hand in the dirt. All right. But let's say Montez Sweat is on the outside of him in a 2-point stance, standing up. And then you've got a linebacker mugging the A-gap. All right. And all of a sudden now you've overloaded one side with a bunch of athletes. Somebody's bound to come scot-free. And Montez running a 4-4, Chase Young probably running some, a 4-5. And then you got a backer. Maybe that's Reuben Foster. Oh, can we dream? You know what I mean? And he's coming scot-free. Somebody is coming up that off the edge, up the A-gap, or somebody's coming scot-free with immense speed. Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones. None of these bastards can get away. It would be so beautiful to see something like that take place. So I don't know what exactly they're going to do with Kerrigan, he's going to get playing time. They have plans for Ryan Kerrigan, and he may fit like hand in glove in this 4-3 defense, because to me, that's what Kerrigan was made to do. Hand in dirt. He came from Purdue as a base 4-3 defensive end. We decided to stand him up in a 3-4 defense, and it changed everything. He is a base 4-3 defensive end, always has been, always will be. So naturally, I think this is going to be a great fit for Ryan Kerrigan. Now the question is, how does he fit with what they're asking him to do? And what's their plan for him? Is he strictly first and second down, and then when they get to third down, are they going to bring in guys that they think have a better chance of getting to the quarterback? Do they kick him inside the guard? Kick him inside as a 3 technique? Who knows? We'll see. It'll be interesting, though. Thank you for the super chat, JP. Gally Sanford, thank you for the super chat, Gally Sanford. Greatly appreciated. Gally, appreciate you. And Gally writes, I remember watching Sean Taylor. I do got to say, he would love the job you do. What's your favorite Skins moment of all time? Keep support up, family. No doubt about it. Thank you for the super chat, Gally Sanford. My favorite Redskin moment of all time was when I was 5 and the Redskins were able to hoist the Lombardi in 1992. The 91 season was a tremendous season. It was one of the greatest Redskins teams ever. It might have been the greatest Redskin team ever. I'm very fortunate to say that I got to watch. Now, again, I was 5. All right, take it with a grain of salt. But I remember a lot of things from that 91 season. I remember watching the seat cushion game, all right, against the Atlanta Falcons. I remember, and that was the 2 legit Atlanta Falcons, if you recall, with Deion Sanders. I remember MC Hammer and all those guys were on the sidelines, and it was wet. It was a nasty day. And we pounded those guys, man. We destroyed them, and they threw the seat cushions onto the field. I remember the Detroit Lions in NFC Championship. Think about that. The Washington Redskins versus the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game. Neither team has been back to the championship game since 91. Unbelievable. Anyway, I remember that particular game. The big thing there was the left tackle for the Detroit Lions was talking some cold, hard cash about Charles Mann. And that was a big mistake. And Charles Mann just destroyed him in that ball game. And we took the Lions out with no problems. And that was a dominant team. Got to the Super Bowl. And I remember Thurman Thomas forgetting his helmet. Couldn't find it after the national anthem. And so Kenneth Davis, the backup running back for the Bills, had to start the game at running back. And it was a sign of things to come. And then I remember, and one of my greatest memories of the Super Bowl was Kurt Gouveia after halftime. Joe Gibbs, not Joe Gibbs. Oh, man. Oh, shit. What's our defensive coordinator's name? And he got a raw deal as the head coach, too. I really felt like he should have been given a better shot. And maybe things just weren't right when he got the opportunity. But, God damn it, why is his name escaping me right now? It'll come to me. But anyway, one of the best defensive coordinators of his era. He and coincidentally enough, he was the one that actually was one of the first innovators to start coming up with, remember he had the nickel, the penny, the dime defense. Richie Pettibone, there it is. I knew it would come to me. Richie Pettibone was innovative. He was the one that had the sub packages, the nickel, the dime. He had the penny defense, if you remember. And he told Kurt Gouveia, stand right here. Jim Kelly's going to throw you the football. Right here. They're going to run this play, and he's going to throw it right to you. And Kurt Gouveia stood right there, and sure enough, they ran like a halfback option route over the middle of the field. Gouveia stands right there, and boom, ball comes right to him. He picks it off, and it leads to an early second half touchdown, and we didn't look back after that, and ended up beating them 30, I think it was 37-24, if memory serves me correct. And that was my greatest memory as a Redskins fan. That entire season was phenomenal. It was just, it was amazing. Remember, we were 13-0. And, the thing that sucks in that year is that I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there used to be it still comes on inside the NFL, but I don't think as many people watch it as they used to. This was back in the heyday when Inside the NFL was on HBO, and it was a big deal. Inside the NFL was a big deal on HBO. And this was, remember, HBO was in its infant stages back in those days. So it was a big deal back in like 1991. Anyway, the Redskins, they traveled to Washington. It was like a kibosh. They went to Washington and they talked about the undefeated season. And at that time, I think we were like 12 or 13-0. And wouldn't you know, the Cowboys were the one team that beat us that year. And broke the undefeated streak up. And then, because we didn't have anything to play for in week 17, we rested our starters, ended up losing that final game of the season. And that's how we got to 14-2. But if we don't lose to the Cowboys, and who's to say? I think, honestly speaking, we could have went undefeated that year. We were that good. Anyway, I digress. You took me down memory lane. I didn't mean to do that. But that's my favorite Redskins moment of all time. So thank you for the super chat, Gally Sanford. Derek B, thank you for the super chat, Derek B. Greatly appreciated, Derek B. As always, my man Derek B writes, POD Corona story. Pod Corona story. Best in months. Keep 6 feet, bruh. For real. Absolutely. If you haven't had a chance to check out the podcast, I told a Corona virus story because I'm at work. And I've said this, if you listen to the podcast or you follow me on Instagram, then you know me a little bit more because I share more on those platforms than I do on YouTube. And so I'm not going to tell you the whole story. If you want the story, you got to go to my podcast. But just know I was running cover 3 versus Corona. And I've been successful thus far. As far as I'm concerned, all right? To the best of my knowledge, my cover 3 coverage has me in the lead right now. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. I'm keeping everything in front of me, and I feel damn good about it. Thank you for the super chat, Derek B. And I'm glad you enjoyed the story. I enjoyed telling the story on the podcast, so I'm glad you were able to check it out and you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for that super chat and for your feedback as well, Derek B. Let's see. See if we got any more super chats. All right. I see one there. I see one there. I see one there. Let's see. All right. Hold on one second. All right. So the next super chat is from DMV Fan 123. Thank you for the super chat, DMV Fan 123. DMV Fan writes, did you see D. Hall say Haskins will lose the starting job to Kyle Allen? How do you think the possible short offseason will affect Haskins? No, I didn't see that. Look, I told you, you're going to hear a lot of things come out. And look, the whole Kyle Allen angle, and he's not the only one. Bucky Brooks, I did see him say that. And you're going to hear a lot more people say that. You know why? Because he's comfortable with Ron Rivera, and more importantly, he's comfortable with the offensive system that's going to be run under Scott Turner. And again, I've talked about this already, but to continue to rehash this is going to be an abbreviated offseason. To what degree, we don't know, if there's even an offseason at all. But it's going to be abbreviated either way. There will be no OTAs. There will be no minis. All right. The first thing we may get is training camp. And if we get training camp, who's to say that training camp, and I've said this before, won't be but a week or two, and you may only get 1 or 2 preseason games. And in that amount of time, in that condensed amount of time, in that abbreviated period, Dwayne Haskins may not be ready. And if he's not ready, Kyle Allen will step up and say, well, I'm ready. I know the plays, coach. Put me in. That's a real thing, though. This isn't a lying season type of information here. It's a real thing that there isn't going to be a true offseason for a guy that's going into the second year. And I've already told you, the easiest way to undo the confidence of a young player, especially at the quarterback position, is to continuously give him new offensive play callers every single year. We've seen it firsthand here. It happened to Jason Campbell. Jason Campbell had a new play caller, I want to say, 4 out of the first 5 years of his Redskins career. All right, that's no way to mature a young quarterback in this league. All right, The fastest way to destroying a young quarterback is to eat away at his confidence. The fastest way to eat away at his confidence is to continue to change up what he thinks he knows. Because if he goes out there and he's unsure, he's going to make mistakes, or he's going to hold on to the ball and he's going to start getting hit. He's going to start seeing ghosts. That's what happened to Patrick Ramsey. That's what happened to Jason Campbell. We've seen it before. We know it can happen. So this is a second year of Dwayne Haskins. It's going to be the second year. And honestly speaking, it's his third play caller, okay? Because he had Jay Gruden initially. Then that changed to Kevin O'Connell. And now he's going to have Scott Turner. And instead of him having a full off season to get acclimated into what Scott Turner's looking for and to get really comfortable with the terminology and everything that goes with this playbook, he's not going to have that at his disposal this year. So it's a real thing that Kyle Allen could come in here and be ready to go, and Haskins isn't, and he starts. But to sit here and act like this is a competition that's going to have an even level playing field and Haskins is just going to get beat out, I'm not buying that whatsoever. And I still contend that Dwayne Haskins is going to start when we finally get to NFL regular season football and the Redskins get to week 1. I still think number 7 is going to be under center. Thank you for the super chat, DMV fan 123. Got another super chat. This one from Thomas Mitchell. Thank you for the super chat, Thomas Mitchell. Greatly appreciate it. My man Thomas writes, with our new medical/training staff, how do you think that affects the players considered injury prone to non-injury prone? So, honestly speaking, football is a physical sport. Now, I think there is something to the whole, medical staff / training staff epidemic that we've seen, not just in Washington, but around the league. Some teams have felt the need to move on from their medical staff because they've had a rash of injuries year after year after year. The Chargers come to mind as another team that felt like they needed to make some changes within their organization from a medical / training staff perspective because they had injuries every single year, just like the Redskins did. But I don't know how it affects, the players that are injury prone. Like, this isn't the NBA and the Redskins' new medical staff. They aren't the Phoenix Suns medical staff. You remember how once upon a time, if you went to Phoenix, that medical staff was so highly regarded and renowned that they could put an additional 4 or 5 years on your career. Remember, Grant Hill went there. He couldn't get right. His ankles were all over the place. He goes to Phoenix, and all of a sudden, Grant Hill is playing in 82 games every year with the Suns. Or Shaq goes out there towards the end of his career, and I think they put another year or 2 on his career. So it's not like they're that. It's football. It's not basketball. One wrong plant, one pile that falls on your leg has nothing to do with the training or medical staff. You could just be stock blocking out wide, and all of a sudden a running back comes tumbling into your leg, and now you got a torn ACL. That wasn't the medical or training staff's fault. It's football. Shit happens. So from a standpoint of injury prone, not injury prone, coming here, what may have you, I think the training staff is more important than the medical staff from that standpoint, because the training staff are the guys that are going to get you in the shape, and they're going to have the exercises that are going to, keep your body elastic, keep you in a state that, will maybe limit the soft tissue injuries, will maybe limit you from the strains and things of that nature. But as far as the medical staff is concerned, they're the ones that give you the diagnosis. Okay, did they diagnose you wrong? Similar to like Quinn Dunbar, he felt like there was a poor diagnosis last year that got him back on the field sooner than he should have, and it really elongated how long he was out. Trent Williams, we all know that situation. So I think that'll be better, and I've heard nothing but good things about the new staff from a medical standpoint. He's supposed to be one of the better ones in the league. That's good. That sounds good. It's great. But football is a physical sport. Injuries are going to happen. We're just hoping that less of them happen with this Redskins team. And some of them do have to do with strength and conditioning. Some guys are just wired in a way that they don't get injured as much. See Ryan Kerrigan. And look, guys get injured. Some have a higher threshold and tolerance for pain than others. Some guys are willing to go out there and gut it out. Others aren't. Whatever the case may be, bottom line is this training and medical staff is supposed to be better. Can't be any worse. Can't be any worse. So we'll see what happens. But a guy like Ronald Darby, him coming here as an injury-prone player, he tore his ACL one of those times. Like that has nothing to do with the training staff. If you tear your like in my mind, and I know this may not be true, but in my mind, I feel like every knee, every Achilles has a finite amount of stops and starts and cuts and dips before it rips. Okay, at some point, and everyone's knee and Achilles is different. Larry Fitzgerald, and I'll knock on wood here because Larry Legend has been going for too long, and I don't want to see it happen to him. But Larry Legend hasn't torn anything, and so his number is way higher than everyone else's. Whereas Thomas Davis came into the league, and right away he tore it, and came back and tore it again. And so, for some guys it happens, for others it doesn't. And you're just hoping that, with this situation with the new staff and everyone that's come on board, you're hoping that it's going to be a much better plan in place. But we're not going to get to see it right off the bat because these players aren't coming into Redskins Park and weight conditioning. They're not lifting weights. They're not getting these guys prepared for the upcoming season. And they're not going to be able to get their hands on these players for the foreseeable future. So we're not going to see them really actually have an impact right away anyway. So we'll see what happens with that. But thank you for the super chat, Thomas Mitchell. My man JP, once again, double up, the first double up of the night. Thank you for the super chat. Once again, JP, my man JP writes, how about OSU wide receiver Benjamin Victor in round 4 or 5? He's solid. He's a long strider, a big, and just so you guys know, I'm going to be talking wide receivers tomorrow. We're going to be live 9 o'clock p.m. on the channel. Draft 101 live, wide receiver position, arguably the deepest position in this year's draft is the wide receiver position. And we're going to be talking wide receivers, all flavors, all sizes, all shapes, all speeds, all here on the Louis T Network. So make sure you tune in for that tomorrow. There are going to be some guys that drop in this draft, and the Redskins are going to have, and I expect the Redskins to dip their toe in the wide receiver pool at some point. I think it'll be a lot later than sooner in the draft, but nonetheless, they're going to get their hands on one of these receivers in this draft. And a guy like Benjamin Victor, first of all, I don't trust him. He's got 2 first names. And you could argue that Benjamin is the last name. To me, it's a first name. So I don't trust Benjamin Victor right off the bat. And I don't care that he spells his name all funky and weird. It's still Benjamin, and it's still Victor, and it's still 2 first names. So I don't trust his ass. That being said, he's a big, tall drink of water, man. Long, tall glass of water. This guy has some ridiculous strides. I always think about the Penn State play that he had in 2018. Dwayne Haskins was there, if you remember that game. Haskins throws a ball way up in the air. Was not a great throw by Haskins. Benjamin Victor goes up and snags that football down, breaks a tackle, and then takes these ridiculous long strides, outruns everyone to the end zone, capped off what was a dramatic come-from-behind victory. Or it didn't cap it. I think KJ Hill ultimately scored and gave them the go-ahead score there in the lead. But that catch and run by Benjamin Victor was a huge catalyst in the comeback versus Penn State in that game. But that's nor here nor there. I like Benjamin Victor. I think he's more of a 5th-round prospect, if you ask me. With all the receivers, a guy like him gets pushed down a bit. He might even be around in the 6th round. I've got a 5th-round grade on him, somewhere in that, middle rounds. He won't come off the board sooner than the 4th. I think he's more of a 5th-round prospect, but with the way this draft goes, and look, all it takes is for one team to love what he brings to the table, and he could be a 4th or a 5th-round selection. I think he honestly goes off the board in the 6th, but I think he's more of a 5th-round prospect. But that's irregardless of all of that. He's tall. He can run a little bit. I don't think he's a build-up guy. He's not a burner by any stretch of the imagination. He's got a great wingspan and catch radius, but he's inconsistent, is Benjamin Victor. He's solid, but much like KJ Hill of the Ohio State wide receivers, he doesn't really move the needle for me per se. I think you can do better than Benjamin Victor in this draft. But, again, I'm looking for a receiver with size. He fits that for me. He's shown the ability to make some big plays. So from that perspective, I wouldn't have a problem with him if the Redskins were in the fifth, round, or so, looking for a receiver, and that's who they thought was the best guy at the time. Wouldn't have an issue with that whatsoever. Thank you for the super chat, JP. See if we got any more super chats, and we do. This next one is from William Lee. Thank you for the super chat, William Lee. Greatly appreciated. William writes, what do you think about the Redskins getting Alvin Kamara from the Saints? They are giving up a 2021 first-round pick and a 2021 third. No. I wouldn't do that. Just because of the fact that there's too much that you can do. There's too much you can do at the running back position in terms of backs that can satisfy to give up that kind of draft capital for a guy. He's in the perfect spot, first and foremost, is Alvin Kamara. I don't know if the Redskins would use him properly. Now, obviously, Scott Turner is very fond of pass-catching running backs. See Christian McCaffrey in his 100 grabs from last year, or over 1,000 yards receiving last year. But that's why they went out and got J.D. McKissick. And I'm not saying J.D. McKissick is Christian McCaffrey or even Alvin Kamara. However, what I'm saying is you don't have to have one of those guys to get production out of the running back position. If you've got a running back that can catch, which J.D. McKissick can, which is why I think he's going to be an X factor of sorts in this offense. He's got to stay healthy, but I think he has a legitimate shot at being an X factor, which is why he's one of my favorite signings of the offseason. You don't have to go out and spend that kind of draft capital on a guy that's established, that's going to eventually look to get paid. The Saints are going to have to break this man off. Don't let it be us. Don't let the Saints get the best of Alvin Kamara and then ship him off, and then now you're paying him for what's to come. And he may not be the same guy that he was in New Orleans with Drew Brees and Sean Payton. I'm good. So, no, I wouldn't be interested in doing that. But I do think that the Redskins feel really confident with the bevy of backs. And that, again, Ron's plan entails that these running backs come in and compete and that everybody be able to carve out a niche for themselves. We sit here and we just assume 35-year-old Adrian Peterson is a lot to be on this roster. Not so fast, my friends. You know what I mean? Like, they brought in Peyton Barber for a reason. Maybe they brought in Peyton Barber in case of an emergency, in case we got to break the glass again because Darius Geis, knock on wood, can't stay healthy. Or Bryce Love isn't ready to rock and roll. Maybe that's why they brought him in. Or maybe they said, no, we'd much rather go with the younger, cheaper option of Peyton Barber than Adrian Peterson, and they get rid of Adrian Peterson. I don't think that's going to happen because you wouldn't have picked up his option if you were thinking that Adrian Peterson wasn't a part of the 2020 season. So I digress. What I'm basically saying to you is I wouldn't give up that kind of draft capital for Alvin Kamara. I don't think that's necessary. And again, even though he's young, he fits in the time frame of where the Redskins are going. There's ways to go about that. You can draft a guy. If you really feel like you need that kind of back, the Redskins can go and get one of those backs in the future in the draft. I don't think you have to do that right now. So thank you for the super chat, William Lee. Extra Squad, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for the super chat, Extra Squad. See if we got any more super chats. Got another super chat from my man Derek B. Double up. From my man Derek B. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up. My man Derek B. writes, Ron just isn't going to give a big contract until he knows they're his, in all caps, guy. No need to spend all the cap we need it for guys on rookie deals soon. Exactly. And that's what I've been preaching. That's a part of Ron's plan. Ron's plan. I've told you this numerous times that Ron, and you know, I think the whole Trent Williams situation with his agent coming on the radio program and all of the things that kind of came out from that situation, it kind of sheds light to the fact that Ron really wants to see these guys come in, prove themselves, because I've said this, and remember I kept echoing this when Quentin Dunbar said it on socials some, 2 months ago, when Quentin Dunbar said, look, he don't know me, I don't know him, it's a business, it's all good. All right. That's essentially the approach Ron Rivera is taking. Like, hey, I know what you've done in this league previously, but this team was 3-13. I do know that. And you were a part of 3-13. So I don't know you. You don't know me. I don't know what your work ethic looks like. I don't know what you're putting forth behind the scenes to produce the product that you're putting out on the field. But I'm going to get a chance to know you. I'm going to find out if, in fact, you're the guy that is going to be here when I'm ready to get this train moving in the direction that this team is going to be going in for years to come. Are you one of those guys that's going to be a part of the foundation? Are you a part of the problem or the solution? If you're a part of the problem, I'm going to go ahead and ship you out of here. If you're a part of the solution, you're going to be here and we're going to move forward with you. So I think you're spot on in that assessment. Ron wants to see these guys in action for himself. He needs to find out if they're his guys or not. And if they are, those are the guys that they'll keep around. Those are the guys that they'll extend. Those are the guys that they'll keep around here. And if they're not, I think those are the guys they ultimately move on from. So, and like you said, I've talked about this on other programs as well. These contracts get up on you quick, especially guys that aren't first rounders. The first round picks, you get that extra 5th year option on those guys, on those rookie deals. But for the non-first rounders, they get up on you quickly. And before you know it, Terry McLaurin's looking at a new contract. You know what I mean? And you look around at some of these other guys that aren't first round picks, and you're like, all right, we're going to probably have to re-up on this guy soon. You know what I mean? Like, if you really like some of the other players on this team and their contracts are coming up, all right, like a Chase Roullier, for instance. Really like Chase Roullier, guess what? He was a 5th round pick, or a 6th round pick, whatever Chase Roullier was. That deal's coming up soon. You want to keep Chase Roullier around. Start seeing a lot more guys being re-signed. Had some issues. All right, sorry about that. But to sum it up, I think you're going to start seeing next offseason a lot of these guys being re-signed. Once they figure out who these guys are and can trust them, then you're going to start seeing a lot of these guys being re-signed and them kind of figuring out who's here for the long haul and who is not. Thank you for the super chat, Derek B. Greatly appreciate it. As we move forward, got another super chat. This one from my man Chris Lou. Double up. From my man Chris Lou. Greatly appreciate you. I see you still here late enjoying the festivities, man. I greatly appreciate you, Chris Lou, hanging tough with us in the wee hours of the morning. My man Chris Lou writes, Skins getting ready to trade number 2 is a smoke screen part 2. To me, let's social distance ourselves from these rumors. He says, on draft day, Ron Rivera will go out of his crib with a folded paper saying, Chase no matter what. All right. I too believe that this is definitely a ploy by the Redskins. They're putting this out there because we all heard the Jason LaCanfora. This is what started the whole revival of the Redskins trading out of 2 was the Jason LaCanfora. And everyone knows Jason LaCanfora used to be a beat reporter in these parts. He used to cover the Redskins intimately. So he's still got a lot of sources in these parts. So when he speaks, a lot of people tend to listen, especially regarding the Redskins. So when you hear him say, and I don't think he's lying. I don't think he's giving us false information. I think he is giving us information that was disseminated to him to spread to the masses. This was done strategically. All right. They gave him this information to then spit out to everyone else so that the other teams like the Dolphins, like the Panthers, like the Chargers get the message that, hey, we are open for business at 2. You don't have to just talk to Detroit at 3. You can come talk to us. We're listening. What's your package look like? All right. Pause. All right. Now, again, I don't think they're coming off of that spot. I don't. But, you want to be the one to receive the deal that has 3 1s, 2 2s, and a 5. If that deal's coming down the pipeline, you want to be the one saying no to that deal or yes to that deal. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what the Redskins have to entertain is, all right, what are you guys talking about? What's really on the table here? If it's not enough, you just take Chase Young. But if it is, you want to be the ones getting these opportunities. And the only way you do that is to kind of strike up some interest for the pick. And, them talking about not having a problem selecting Isaiah Simmons, that's cool. But this is the thing. Trading back to 5, and let's just go with the premise of 5. Trading back to 5 doesn't guarantee you Isaiah Simmons. We've done this exercise already. All right. It guarantees you one of the following, Jeff Okudah or Isaiah Simmons. All right. But it's not a and situation. Both of those guys most likely than not won't be there. Now, there is a way that they could both be there. Because if the Redskins trade back from 2 to 5, let's say with the Dolphins, and the Dolphins come up and presumably take Tua, then you've got to assume the Lions are going to take Chase Young at number 3. And then that leaves the Giants at 4. And they could go tackle. But more likely than not, they're probably going to take, because they need more impact players, they're probably going to take Isaiah Simmons at 4. But if they don't, in the event that they don't, then you have the pick of the litter, and Isaiah Simmons is still there at 5. But you could trade back thinking, all right, and put it this way. If the Redskins trade back, that means they're perfectly fine with Isaiah Simmons or Jeff Okudah because one of the two are going to be there. It's a guarantee. It's a lock. Both of those guys can't be gone and Chase Young. One of the 3 have to be there. So, and what that would say to me is that trading back to 5 means they're perfectly fine with Okudah or Isaiah Simmons. They have no problems taking either one of those guys, and it wouldn't make them one bit of difference. Maybe they have a preference, but they're not going to be all butthurt or in disarray if their guy isn't there. They've got multiple guys. And that's how this works when you're in the top 10. If you're the 7th pick in the draft, guess what? You make a list of 7 guys. One of those 7 is bound to be there, right? And you'll be fine with any one of them. There's 1 or 2 that you want more than the other 5. But guess what? That's why you make a list of 7, because one of those guys is going to be there. You're not going to be in disarray if everyone's taken it. If you go into the draft with a top 10 pick and you don't have your situation set up to where all of these guys, you got to play out all the scenarios. And in your mind, you might say, all right, look, we got the 4th pick in the draft. These are the 3 guys that we believe are worthy of the 4th pick in the draft. If none of these guys are here, then we want to trade out. But if the trade scenario doesn't come, we've got a 4th and final guy that we are okay with selecting at 4. Worst case scenario. That's how you go into it. And the Redskins are no different. If you play out the scenarios, I'm pretty sure they're playing around with scenarios. What happens if we trade back to number 5? What happens if we trade back to 6 or 7? What's the furthest we're willing to go back? We can't go back any further than 7. Anybody calls us and they're further than the 7th pick at Carolina, we're not even picking up the phone. All right? So you got to go on with the plan. And if we go back to 7, this is how it has to go for us. These are the guys that we're looking for. These are the guys that should be here. And if these guys aren't, then this guy will be. And that's how you set it up. So if they trade 2, that tells me they're perfectly fine with Okudah or Isaiah Simmons. They have no problems with either one. So, and I'm with you. I think it's a smokescreen. I think they put this information out there for Jason LaCanfora to do their dirty work, to drum up more interest in the 2nd pick, to see if they can push that value even higher to potentially get even more for the pick if they do decide to move on from it. Thank you for the super chat once again, Chris, Lou. Jay Willard with a super chat. Greatly appreciated, Jay Willard. Thank you for the super chat. Jay Willard writes, sorry, just got home, late night, just logged on. Just wanted to show you some love and tell you thank you and keep up the good work. Thank you, Jay Willard. Appreciate the contribution and the kind gesture. Hopefully you're doing great, being that you just got home. hopefully I'll be able to help you relax with a little bit of Redskins talk. Appreciate the super chat once again, Jay Willard. All right, let's see if we got any more super chats. All right, so that was the last one. So now we'll take to the phone lines. There are no calls right now, even though I know the phone has been ringing off the hook. But I'll read a couple comments. In the meantime, until we get some... Steez82 says, we should pick up Ed Dickson for quality depth. I saw he was just released by the Seahawks. I'm good on Ed. Like, we've got enough Ed Dixons on the roster. How much quality depth do you need? We've got 4 tight ends, and none of them resemble a starter. Ed Dickson is a second tight end at best in this league. He's probably more of a 3 at this point. We don't need another one of those guys. We've got enough of them. I don't want to pick up Ed Dickson. We already picked up Ed Dickson. His name is Richard Rodgers. We already picked up Ed Dickson. And maybe, the tight end from the Lions is a little bit more athletic and he's younger and yada, yada, yada. But they're one and the same. Okay? We don't need another Ed Dickson. All right? We have already got enough depth. I got a call. I'm going to go ahead and take it. You're on with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Luis. It's Chris Wu.
What's going on, man? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Chris Wu.
Go ahead.
How you doing? You good?
I'm good, Chris, man. What about you?
Nice. I'm good. I'm still here awake. I have my patients tomorrow, but I'm still here. Hopefully, I'll be able to go to work and take care of people. I was just thinking about one thing: the fact that we signed those guys, and a lot of them are actually from the area. Mm-hmm. And if they're not from the area, it looks like they like the Redskins, or they have been some type of way linked to the Redskins. How do you like it? I feel like it's a very great thing in terms of identity, mm-hmm. and I wanted to have your opinion about that. Oh. Because I felt like it was something that was not really we never really spoke about it, and I felt like it was something good. So I just wanted to have your opinion about it.
All right, I got you, Chris Lou, man. Appreciate the call, and hey, I don't want to keep you up too long, man. Get some rest.
Yeah, okay. I listened to the thing, and I'm still be there anyway.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's okay, please.
All right, easy. So Chris Lou says there's a lot of these guys that are being signed that are from the area, and there's been a trend. Ronald Darby's from the area. The tight end from Virginia Tech, obviously. I don't know if he's necessarily from the area, but he played at Virginia Tech, so he's very familiar with the DMV. Kendall Fuller from the area. So there's been a number of guys that have been brought back to the area, and I think that's pretty cool. Chase Young is from the area. You'd like to bring him home. Dwayne Haskins, originally from New York, that Jersey area, but he did his high school work at Bullis in the DC area. So again, a lot of these guys from the area, you'd love to have them, bring them home and have that sense of community and bringing people back on board that may have left because, I remember watching that kid grow up and that sort of thing. That's cool, but that doesn't matter at the end of the day. I like the fact that they're from the area. If you are one of those guys that can focus and block out the noise, because being close to home is a gift and a curse for some guys. It's a gift because you're close to home, familiarity. You're able to, it's cool to be able to go home. You know what I mean? And actually have a place and are familiar with. But at the same time, there are a lot of demands on you when you're at home. People want tickets, and people are tugging at you, and sometimes it's better to get away. So I don't know what that means, but I did notice the Redskins were bringing, and I don't think there's any really real correlation to these guys being from the area or close by. I think it's just a coincidence that some of these guys have ties to the DMV area, but for the most part, the Redskins are just looking for guys that they think have some talent that may be somewhat untapped, and they are looking to prove themselves, and the Redskins are looking to give them that opportunity to do so. And so I think that it's more along the lines of that than anything else. So I don't know if there's any real merit to, oh man, we're bringing back a whole bunch of DMV guys. I just know that the Redskins are trying to bring in a bunch of guys that want to compete, that they see talent on film from, and want to throw them in the mix and see what they're able to do and see if they're able to win a roster spot here in Washington. So, I'll answer this real quick. When is the next draft show? A whole heap of things have happened since we last spoke. Been wanting to discuss some things with you. We're going to talk receivers tomorrow. 9 p.m. live, Draft 101 live. Wide receivers edition tomorrow night. So for those of you who want to participate, I will be live again tomorrow talking wide receivers. Got a super chat, so I will read that. And this super chat is from Ray Riley. Ray Riley, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Ray. And Ray writes, thoughts on Chase Claypool opposite McLaurin or at tight end. So Chase Claypool, to me, would be a fantastic pickup for the Redskins. I think his draft stock has risen immensely to the point where I could see Chase Claypool not being available for the Redskins in the third round. I still, matter of fact, I've got all my wide receiver paperwork right next to me. I'll tell you what grade I have on him in terms of round. I think I have a third round grade on Chase Claypool. Let's see. I've got a second round grade on him. So it would not shock me in the least if he's not available by the time the Redskins. Now again, I've said this numerous times, and I expect this to be the case, that a lot of good football players in the earlier rounds are going to get pushed down because of the ripple effect that is the quarterback and offensive tackle positions. I think you're going to see 4 quarterbacks go in the first round, which means some other guys are going to get pushed down. I think you're going to see 5 or 6 tackles go in the first round, which means some other guys are going to get pushed down. I think you're going to see 5 or 6 receivers go in the first round, which means other positions are going to get pushed back. And eventually, those other positions that get pushed back, they're going to get selected. All right? There's going to be a conglomerate at the top of the second round where eyes are wide open like, whoa, what just happened? Why is this guy sitting here? And you're going to see a run on those guys. And so some more guys are going to get pushed back. And eventually, by the end of the third into the fourth, that log jam is going to be cleared up. And then everything is going to kind of fall into place there. But as far as I'm concerned, Claypool, I thought, would get to the Redskins initially when this process started. I'm a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan. I've seen Chase Claypool. I really like Chase Claypool a lot. I thought he was going to make the transition to tight end. I didn't realize how fast he was, even as a Notre Dame fan, because of how they used him at Notre Dame. Yeah, he went vertical a lot, but there were also a ton of underneath crossing routes that we would run him on. Our offense wasn't very complex. So I didn't think he was that fast. I didn't think he was as fast as he showed at the Combine. But much like Miles Boykin the year prior, he showed off some speed at the Combine, showed off some athleticism, and all of a sudden now a guy that was viewed as a potential conversion candidate to tight end is now perceived to be a second-round tight end or wide receiver, and I think he might be gone by the time you get to the top of the third round where the Redskins select. So I would love to see him opposite. It's exactly what I'm looking for. You know who else I would like? More so than Chase Claypool, I've got a higher grade on him, is AGG. Antonio Gandy Golden. I actually like him better than Chase Claypool. I would love the Redskins to get their hands on him. Personally, I don't think he's going to be there. I think he's going to be gone in the second round as well. But that's more along the lines of the guy that I've got my eye on, because I told you I want a big receiver. It's the one thing that we lack. We got speed now in Steven Sims and Terry McLaurin. We don't, and we've got a guy kind of in the middle with Kelvin Harmon at around 6'2", but we don't have that big 6'4", 6'5" target. That big, physical, imposing red zone target where you just say, all right, big boy, go get it, and throw the fade ball to him. Gandy Golden is that guy. I would love the Redskins to get their hands on AGG. I don't see any way it happens unless the Redskins somehow miraculously come up with a second-round pick prior to the draft. But that's enough draft talk unless someone else super chats and talks about it. We can talk about that tomorrow if you guys are on the stream tomorrow. But nonetheless, thank you for the super chat, Ray Riley. All right. Got another call. Going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Chris, how you doing, Lou?
Hey, what's going on, Chris?
Lou, I got a couple questions. With Prince of Makamora out there and a couple other corners, why did we sign Ronald Darby? Please. You got Logan Ryan out there. I do not like this Darby signing. I don't like it. I just don't like it.
I understand where you're coming from.
Breland's still out there. What is he doing?
Look.
I don't like it.
So, it's only so much I can tell you. You know, I can't. I can tell you what Ron Rivera has done, and I've already said that, you know, Ron's plan is competition, and I don't think they're looking to. Their big signing at the cornerback position was Kendall Fuller. They're not looking to pour in a bunch more money. That's why you go and get a Chase Young, because I don't think they're looking to spend a bunch of money into the cornerback position. They were never in. I just found
a little bit better than Darby.
Yeah, well, see, Logan Ryan's going to cost you probably $10 million or more a year. I think the reason Bashar Breeland hasn't signed yet, and I said this on my podcast, is because I think he's looking for $12 million a year.
That's too much.
It's too much, exactly. So I think there's a reason why he's still sitting out there is because he might have priced himself out of the market. And so I think the Redskins kind of surveyed the landscape. They looked around and they said, this guy and a guy like Prince Amukamara, who you brought up, doesn't really fit in the time. Let's say Prince Amukamara, we know who he is at this point of his career. And they look at him and they say, look, even if he's really solid for us, he doesn't fit in the time frame of where we're going. Ronald Darby, if he plays well in 2020, is 26 years old. And they're thinking, look, if he plays really well, we may be able to get him back on a relatively affordable deal and bring him back for the next 4 years. And he's right there as a core guy in this nucleus moving forward. So I think that's
quick,
part of it.
Trent, let's get rid of him for 2 threes, package 2 threes and a 4 for number 2. What do you think?
I wouldn't have a problem with the 2-3 scenario. We got to find someone who's willing to part ways with it. The Jets right now are one of the few teams that has 2 third-round picks, and they've made a bunch of moves in free agency to shore up their offensive line. Now, none of those guys are the caliber of Trent Williams, but they've made a bunch of moves to solidify their offensive line. They're probably, and not to mention, in the draft, they're in a prime position that if they felt like they needed to upgrade their tackle position, they could. So they're not looking at it. And again, Trent Williams doesn't fit their time frame. And that's what you got to also look at. They're a rebuilding team just like us. They're not going to win 12 games next year. So
you are a Redskins fan, dream come true. I don't know what I would do without you, man. You are awesome. And hail to our Redskins. And happy birthday, Sean Taylor.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for the call, Chris.
I'll call you again. Bye-bye, dude. Bye.
Take care. All right. That was a great call from my man, Chris. Greatly appreciate that. Both Chris's, actually. Coincidentally enough. All right. So let's get to our next super chat. This one from Chris Lou. Triple up. My man, Chris Lou. That's your 3rd time. And you blessed us with a call as well. Thank you for the super chat. Once again, Chris Lou, my man, Chris Lou writes, would you sign Josh Gordon with Scott Turner around? No. Josh Gordon, to me, has had ample chances. I'm one for second chances. But now you're on 3rd and 4th and 5th chances with this guy. And the last time I saw him, he wasn't the same Josh Gordon. You know, at one point he was Flash Gordon. He's not that guy anymore. I didn't see that guy. Even The first stint with New England, I was like, man, he still got it. That first time around with Tom Brady, he was kicking ass. And then he came back this last past time, and I'm like, who are you? I don't know you anymore. So for what he brings to the table and, you know, the potential headache that it may cause, and I've never known him to be a malcontent in the locker room, but when you got a lot of young, impressionable guys on your roster, I don't know if having a guy like Josh Gordon around them is the best thing. And I don't know him personally. So I don't want to sit here and act as if bringing him onto the roster, he's going to be a cancer. But I don't know if the talent now is worth the potential issues that may come with it anymore, if that makes sense. So no, I'm not on board with signing a Josh Gordon. And that's kind of the similar stance I have with the safety that a lot of people have brought up in Demarius Randall. I don't know if Demarius Randall, the headache that comes with him, he's got a label around the league as being high maintenance, and for good reason. Not one, but two teams have essentially given up on him because of this. The Packers couldn't move him fast enough when they traded him to Cleveland, and the Browns are like, we're good, thanks. So I'm not sure I want that guy in my locker room if I'm trying to build a culture or not, but we'll see what happens. Thank you for the super chat. Once again, Chris, Lou, DMV fan 123. Thank you for the super chat, DMV fan 123. Greatly appreciated. DMV fan 123 writes, Brian Edwards, thoughts? Good receiver option for the Skins. South Carolina wide receiver, you know, about a good 6'3", about 210 pounds or so. Really solid football player. Tough, does a lot of the dirty work, willing to get in there and block in the run game. Has some good hands. I like him. He's not explosive enough for me. You know, I think you can do better. You can do a lot worse than Brian Edwards. If the Redskins ended up with Brian Edwards, I think he's the quintessential number 2 receiver in this league. Like, I think you get Brian Edwards, and I'll refer to my notes. I'll tell you who I have him comp to, so you can kind of get a sense of who he is. I've got him as a late day 2 pick, so think 3rd round. I've got him as a late day 2, early day 3 pick, so I've got him going 3rd round, early 4th, and I have him at a comp for him is Devon Street, and I know some of you are like, oh, Devon Street. Didn't he only have a cup of tea in this league? Drafted by the Dallas Cowboys out of Pitt. Remember, Devon Street was actually a good prospect coming into the league. Now, for whatever reason, it did not work in this league. He flamed out very quickly, but very productive receiver at Pitt. And similar body type, similar size, similar speed, that sort of thing. I wanted to see him run at the Combine, but he broke his foot training for the Combine. Didn't run at the Combine, obviously. And so I wanted to put a speed to the time. In my notes, I put down, like sort of a range for his speed. I got 4.54 to 4.6. I think he's somewhere in that neighborhood. He's a really solid football player, though. Does everything good, nothing great. I like Brian Edwards a lot, though. And if he were to be drafted by the Skins, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I would have a problem with it if it was with the Skins' 3rd round pick. Because I think there are other guys that would potentially be there. Now, obviously, it just depends on how things fall. He may be the best guy available, and at that point, I wouldn't be upset. But if I saw other guys, and I think there are going to be other guys that I like more available with similar size, because I'm looking for size at receiver, that will be available at that 2nd pick in the 3rd round for the Redskins to select at receiver if that's the route they want to go. Now, if you tell me the Redskins, with their first of their 2 4th round picks, decide that they want Brian Edwards, I would not have a problem with that, because he'll probably be one of the better options available at that time of the draft, if you ask me. So thank you for the super chat, DMV123. Barry Williams with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Barry Williams. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat, Barry Williams. Let's see. Got another super chat. Brendan McCloskey, thank you for the super chat. Double up, for my man, Brendan McCloskey. Greatly appreciate the super chat, Brendan. Brendan writes, double up, LOL. He says, keep up the great work, Louis. Thank you, Brendan, for the super chat. Greatly appreciate that. All right, I think that is the last super chat. And it is, got a call from my man, JP. What's going on, JP?
What's going on, Lou?
How you doing?
BP, how you doing, man?
All right. Talk to me.
Well, first of all, this is my second. Sorry, I didn't realize I was on live. First of all, this is my second full week of quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
I've been out of work these past couple weeks, so I've been at home while the girlfriend works.
How's that going?
But anyway, man, 3 weeks away from the draft. It's hard to believe that it's been a couple months since the Super Bowl. Now we're getting headed into draft week. It's an exciting time, and the fact that I'm expecting us to get Chase Young, the guy that I've wanted this whole season.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I won't say everybody. That's what most of us hope. But you're going to hear a lot between now and then. And so it's not going to make this an easy 3 weeks. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah, it is. You're going to hear all kinds of stuff,
Yep.
come out, and you're going to hear trade down stuff. Honestly, I don't trust anything Jason Lockenford says. I know he's got sources. The last time I read a Jason Lockenford report was last year when he reported that the Jets were open for business to trading down from 3 and that the Redskins were interested and they wanted to move up to get to number 3 to get Dwayne Haskins. Mm-hmm. I was like, are you kidding me? This has to be false. They should have learned their lesson from the Robert Griffin III thing when they gave up like a whole bunch of picks and they had to sit in timeout in round 1 in I think in 2013 and 2014. Mm-hmm. We missed out on some guys. We missed out on Mack. We missed out on Clowney. We missed out on some pretty damn good players. We missed out on Odell. We missed out on some great players. And again, I don't believe a word Lockenford says. I know he can be trusted. I know people listen. I've just lost respect for his reporting at this point.
Well, look, you believe what you want to believe. I've told you guys that a million times. It's lion season, but I can tell you this. He's right more than he's wrong. And I believe him. I believed that report last year because I heard after the draft was over that the guys in the draft room had to talk Daniel Snyder out of forcing them to pull the trigger on trading up for Dwayne Haskins. They talked him off the ledge and got Dan to sit down and understand that if he's there at 15, we'll take him. But if not, we'll go in a different direction. But we don't need to trade up for him. He should be there. And he ultimately was there. So there probably was some validity to that. The Redskins probably did call. I don't know how close they ever came to actually pulling the trigger. But as far as him being wrong, I remember very vividly Jason Lockenford saying that Trent Williams would never play for the Redskins again before anybody else said that. He said that when we didn't know how bad this situation was, and he was the one that came out and said, hey, Trent Williams said he is never playing for the Redskins again. And I remember thinking, oh my God, that's got to be false. What is he talking about? He was right then. And I'm not saying he's wrong now, but I don't think the Redskins are trading out of 2. But I think he's just reporting what he was told.
And to your point on Trent, look, to be honest, I want to ask this. Who do you think holds more leverage, Trent or the Redskins? To me, I think it's the Redskins because they're not going to give this guy away. Like the Texans did with DeAndre Hopkins when they gave away essentially a half-eaten Snickers bar and a bag of chips and a half-empty juice box. Mm-hmm. And that was a garbage-ass trade.
Right. It was. Look, I've learned a lot of things. I was listening to J.I. Halsell, who used to work for the Redskins, does a wonderful work with the Cap and is a guy that's an agent now, was an agent, and was working in the front office. Now he's back to being an agent, and he's very insightful. And he was talking about the CBA, and I remember coming up here and telling you guys, and I gotta go back and amend something because I was being lazy. And honestly, with the CBA, I'm going to be lazy. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm going to sit there and read this thing front to back. This is a lot of jargon and technical terms in there that can throw you for a loop. But this is a guy that I trust, and other guys, I was getting third-hand information when really I just need second-hand information. I need the guy that knows what he's talking about to tell me directly what's going on. And I was taking third-hand information from people that heard from somebody else that was telling me, and I was taking that information. So he essentially said, look, two things. And I want to shout out my man Chris Liu, because on Twitter, he tweeted at me the first piece of information that I'm going to tell you. And then J.I. Hossell had a Twitter thread with the other piece of information that I'm going to give you. So Chris Liu tweeted at me and said, hey, man, check this out. Did you know this? So apparently the Redskins would not receive a third-round comp pick for Trent Williams. If Trent Williams is on this roster this year, I think he is slated to make $14 million. I think his cap, if we were to trade or release him, we would have a cap savings of 12.5. But if he were to play the season, I think his number is around 14, whatever the case may be. If he plays out this season and leaves in free agency, the Redskins, because of him being in his, I think this would be his, going into his 10th season or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. It's 10th season.
So because he's accrued 9 seasons in the league, and that next year would be his 10th season or whatever the case, the Redskins would not be in the runnings for any compensation higher than a 5th-round pick for Trent Williams leaving in free agency. So essentially what I'm saying to you is, because he's played for that long in the league, you don't receive a comp pick higher than a 5th-round pick for Trent Williams if he were to leave in free agency. So that kind of changes, the way you proceed. Well, if he doesn't want to be traded or he doesn't want to bring down his demands, well, at least get a 3rd-round pick for him. So we better get a 3rd-round pick. Well, technically, if he walks next year in free agency, you're probably more than likely going to get a 5th-round pick in return. And to make matters worse, the whole, well, he can't hold out, 5 days or more. Same thing applies with his veteranship, if you will, for lack of a better term, in this league. His longevity gives him the ability to be able to hold out. Now, again, the penalties and the amount of fines he would accrue would be on par with what happened last year, and so forth and so forth. But in terms of him being able to accrue that year, all he has to do is show up at week 11 like he did last year, and he'll get the accrued season and he'll become a free agent. So technically speaking, if Trent wanted to sit out again, he could. Now, I don't know if he really wants to play football. I don't know how feasible that is to sit out a second consecutive year, meaning you would not have played a meaningful snap in competitive football in almost 3 full calendar years. And you really think you're going to hit free agency and get a massive deal off of that? Plus you're coming off of an injury? I don't think he's in a position to sit out an entire year again. But that being said, if he wants to do that, he still can. And there's really not much the Redskins can do about it. If he's willing to miss out on another 12, 13, $14 million, whatever it is, this upcoming season. So I think the Redskins have all the leverage because he's under contract. But Trent Williams isn't backed into this corner that we thought he was, say, a week or two ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I understand that. And to your point, I agree. He's not going to sit out, a whole season again like he did last year. But he hasn't changed his stance. He's never playing for us again. So, you got to get what you can from him. Again, I'm not a fan of holding these guys hostage. We held him hostage all offseason, and Bruce Allen was a lot to blame. He was partially responsible. We should have raped the Browns when we had the chance to get a 1st and a 4th, and Bruce Allen's dumbass kept us from accomplishing that, and we basically got nothing, and now Bruce is out of a job. So, one more thing. I agree. Trent's not going to sit out the season again, and I want to get as much as I can for him. And in terms of the off season, I'm I got so many mixed feelings on this offseason, man. I really wanted to sign some of these top name guys, and I was hoping that, Hunter Henry would be available. I was hoping that maybe not Byron Jones. I mean, we could use Byron Jones. To me, I think he's a good corner, but to me, he was honestly overpaid. But I'm not too upset with these moves. At the same time, could we sign some notable guys? Sure. And the thing that, again, I told you this last week, what tips me off that we're going to draft Chase Young is because we've signed we basically signed a bunch of Island of Misfit Toys type corners. That's what I call it. So that tips me off. We added some linebackers. We added some notable guys, sure, but we didn't do much at linebacker. We added some guys at linebacker. We added some average guys at corner and safety. To me, that signals we're drafting Chase Young. If they weren't going to draft Chase Young, they probably would have signed someone like Logan Ryan, or maybe they would have traded down for Okuda or something like that. Again, I firmly believe 120% that we're drafting Chase Young. I really do.
I'm with you, JP. I'm with you, man. Hey, I appreciate you calling in, JP. Appreciate the super chats, man, and you continue to take it easy, man. Stay safe and continue to quarantine, man. Take care.
All right, thank you, man.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
All right, got a couple of super chats. I want to take those quickly. Let's see. No, I got one super chat. Excuse me. From my man Chris Lou, who's been killing it tonight. Appreciate you, Chris Lou. That's your fourth one. And we spoke on the phone, man. Really appreciate you. Chris Lou says, thanks again for your work, dedication, and analysis, man. You're our favorite Redskins, favorite analyst. Stay safe with the family. Bon Sori. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, Chris Lou. And you stay safe out there as well, too, my man. So I think that's it for the super chats. Got a call coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and take that. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Lou, what's happening? It's MP, man.
Hey, man, long time no hear from MP. How you been?
Hey, man, I'm hanging in here, brother. Hey, man, I just wanted to chime on you right quick. I know you saw that Emmanuel Hall is on our roster. They signed him to a futures deal. Mm-hmm. And was just wondering what your thoughts are. I remember you were a Drew Luck guy, so you knew he was throwing that rock too.
Yes, he can run. He's got some size. I've always said this about Emmanuel Hall. He was a one-trick pony. All right.
Yes.
There was no diversity to his game whatsoever. When you saw Emmanuel Hall, you knew he was going to do one thing, and it was funny because teams still couldn't stop it. All right. He could get behind you, but there's a reason why, if I'm not mistaken, he went undrafted. And
he did, yeah.
And then I think he latched on with someone, but then didn't make their team once, they got out of camp. So there's a reason that he hasn't found a home. And like I said, Ron Rivera wants guys with versatility that can do more than one thing. Obviously, if he's going to make a roster, he's going to have to be able to play some special teams, all right? Because just running the 9-ball down isn't going to be enough to keep you in this league. You're going to have to do some other things. So I know the guy can run really, really fast in a straight line, all right? He doesn't really offer you much of anything else, not a great route runner, not going to block anybody in a running game or any of that stuff. What he does is he runs really, really fast in a straight line. And so I think we got guys that can run. You can never have enough guys that can run. But I know if the Redskins are looking to add someone, and I think they're going to add somebody. I do not think, the addition of the Indiana kid, Cody Latimer, is going to stop them from drafting someone in 3 weeks. I just don't. So, Emmanuel Hall being signed to a futures deal, not going to stop them from drafting somebody. And again, I think when you look at the roster, I think 3 spots at receiver are spoken for. I think there are. Now, I've heard that, Rivera's gone with 4 corners the last 2 years in Carolina.
Oh, wow, really?
That's something to keep in mind if they start thinking about trimming off some fat somewhere. Maybe it's the cornerback position. I don't anticipate him going with any less than 5 receivers, though. So if 3 spots are spoken for, I think Trey Quinn is in jeopardy of not making a football team this year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so if they bring in 2 guys that they really like to go along with Harmon, Sims, and McLaurin, you can see Trey Quinn not being on this football team. And we'll see. They value special teams. So Cody Latimer may have a way in based off of his ability to play specials. He's been outstanding at that. Like I said, if you're not going to be an exceptional receiver, you got to find a niche. You got to carve out a niche for yourself. He's done that on specials. So he could be one of those guys. But I still think the Redskins are going to go after somebody in the draft.
Cool, bro. Good hearing your terminology and you teaching us, man. Keep doing your thing.
Hey, appreciate you, MP, man. And don't be a stranger either, man.
We'll do, Lou.
All right. Take care.
All right, brother.
All right. Let's see. So we're rolling up on the 2-hour mark. I don't see any more calls right now, and maybe I'll get one here in a second. I see a couple comments, though. I will take these comments real quick. My man Reese says Alden Smith signed with Dallas. Alden Smith is no longer the guy that he once was, so not really worried too much about that. Got a call, gonna go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
What's up, Louis T? It's Sanchez 405 from On the Warpath. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, Sanchez?
Not much, man. Just finally getting back into the game, and I'm sitting here watching you, and I was just one thing's been sticking in my throat, not from you, but from everybody out there. Everybody's been worried about us not spending money in free agency, and I mean, if you look at Ron Rivera's track record and everything, they don't spend money. Whether it was Dave Gettleman, Marty Herney running the team, he never really spent money. He spends money on his own, and I'm just like, hey, we just need to calm down and let this thing play out to fruition and see what happens and goes from there, man.
Absolutely. I've been telling everyone that, and I felt bad because I was definitely out in front of hey man, we got a lot of money to spend, and it's a lot of guys out there. But I knew they were interested, and I don't know if you guys heard the report over the weekend or the interview, but Austin Hooper sat down with a reporter for Cleveland, and he basically said, hey, look, it was between the Redskins and the Browns, and I chose Cleveland. And I think he chose Cleveland because they offered him more money. I think the Redskins had put a $10 million cap on how much they were willing to spend, and the Browns went over that. And so he went to Cleveland. But they were interested in Austin Hooper. I thought they would be. They were interested in Amari Cooper. We all heard the reports that they were willing to offer more than Dallas did, but he just wanted to stay in Dallas, which is fine. I'm glad that they didn't get Amari Cooper personally. And so they were willing to spend a bit, but this is his MO. And I told fans this going into free agency, be wary, don't be surprised. Now, what I did not anticipate, Sanchez, is that we would sign 12 guys like we did.
Neither did I.
I didn't see that coming. I didn't see a bunch of 2-year deals coming with a smatter of 3, and a 4 here. But I did anticipate them not spending a whole bunch of money in free agency if they didn't get some of the big name guys that they were after. But I think the thing that has made a lot of people upset is the almost a Bruce Allen-ish type of offseason, where we're bargain basement shopping, and I think that's the thing that's scaring a lot of people. But you got to understand that this is vastly different from what Bruce would do, because Bruce would overspend for guys that weren't very good.
Right.
There's not any there's no long-term commitment to any of these guys for the most part. That we've signed this offseason. So we're giving them a chance to come in and compete and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 3-13 last year, there's a lot of holes in that ship you got to plug up. So
absolutely.
I've been impressed with that. And, I mean, hey, I like to bargain shop, and sometimes bargain shopping you get more than what you buy. So
Yeah.
I like what we're doing so far.
I've given the analogy already that first of all, I am an avid clearance rack shopper. Avid.
Right.
Okay, you can find gems on that rack. Now you're gonna have to search. You know, I know a lot of people that can't stand going into Old Navy. Why? Because there's clothes everywhere. All right, it's a mess in there. Looks like the Tasmanian devil just went through there. But if you're willing to search, there is a gem in there somewhere. You know, possibly. I go to the Nike store all the time, and I go straight to the hash wall. All right, there's the deals back there. Now look. There's a clearance rack back there as well. And there's a lot of stuff that nobody wants. Trust me. But there's one or two items where you're like, what is this doing here?
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and buy this. So maybe.
Hey, great value over name brand anytime when I go into Walmart. So I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, indeed, man. Indeed. Hey, you take care, man. Good to hear from you.
Good to hear. Good talking to you, man. You take care.
Likewise, and good to have you back in the game, man.
I appreciate it.
Now, I will say, if you're going to go to Walmart and you're going to select great value, be careful with what items you decide to go low-key on, all right? Certain items, I would do that if I were you. I might share that on my podcast one day. I won't do it here. Anyhow, for the most part, though, it's good to hear from Sanchez. If you guys are massive Redskins fans, which I assume most of you are, then you should already be subbed up to my man Sanchez. If not, go check him out. He does some good work over on his channel as well. Protect Sports says Team Chase Young. Yes, indeed. Hope it stays there. And I think that's where the Redskins will ultimately make their pick. Let's see. Reese says, do you think Andrew Thomas could be sitting there at 14? Sure. I legitimately think he will be there. How deep is this O-line class? Can you find quality guys later, or is it top-heavy? I think this is definitely a draft that you can find some guys in this draft into the second, third, and possibly into the fourth round. It just depends on how it breaks. You know, with the offensive line, that usually get put, that position, and depending on what you're looking for, if you're looking for a tackle, they generally get pushed up in the draft. If you want one, you usually have to go quickly. You know, limited supplies. You got to go get yours while they're there to be got. If you wait too long on the tackle position, they won't be around. I'm just hoping that the Boise State tackle is available for the Redskins to select it at the top of the third round. That would be awesome. I think left tackle is a much bigger need than any other need that we have if Trent Williams, which we all should be able to assume now and gather that he's not going to be here. I'd like to see the Redskins attack that, but they may have other plans. You know, they signed Cornelius Lucas. I think he's more of a backup and more of a right tackle than a left. And maybe they're saying, hey, Donald's still out there and Jason Peters is still out there. Worst case scenario, we have a backup plan. So we'll see. But anyhow, no more super chats. Gregory Lightbody says, what do you think of Michael Pittman? I like Michael Pittman. He, to me, is similar to the South Carolina wide receiver that I talked about earlier, where no distinguishable traits. He's a big kid. He can run a little bit, but he's not blazing fast. But for his size, I think he ran a 4.52 at the combine. For his size, it's pretty fast for a 6'4" receiver. You know, that's right around 220 pounds. That's pretty damn fast. And he's got good hands, runs some really solid routes. I think he could be a little bit stronger, though, you know, at the point of catch. I think he could be a lot stronger at the point of catch, actually. As I go into my notes, I've got down, he can be stronger at the point of the catch. I think that's something at 6'4", 220, I'd like to see him be a little bit stronger at the point of catch. I also think that he might have a tough time separating at the next level. So he needs to be able to use his body to shield away defenders because he got a lot of free releases at SC. You know what I mean? So that's another question I have about him is can he consistently separate? And Mike Mayock said once upon a time, there's 3 ways now to separate. It used to be 2 ways, either speed or quickness or / technique. But now there's another one that has entered into the fold over the last 5 or 6 years, and that's size. You don't actually have to be a great route runner or have to be a technician. If you can use your body to box, the defender out, and you got a wide body, and he does, and you've got some length, and you've got strong hands, and he does, and then you can carve out a niche for yourself. And so, I'll be interested to see what he's able to do. He's got NFL bloodlines. Obviously, his dad played in the league for numerous years with the Buccaneers. So, among other teams, the Arizona Cardinals as well. I think they were in Phoenix then, maybe. But I like Michael Pittman Jr., and I've said this. I would love it if he ended up here in Washington. That's the kind of receiver I'm looking for, a big body receiver. He's rated on par, up there with the Gandy Goldens and the Chase Claypools. But those guys, to me, are more physical freaks than that of Michael Pittman. I think Gandy Golden is a lot more physical, stronger at the point of catch, can go up and high point the football. Michael Pittman can go up and get the ball, but that's not his thing necessarily. Like a Gandy Golden, who will go up and put his nutsack on your helmet and leave ball fragments all over your helmet. And Chase Claypool showed the ability to run. So those guys have separated themselves, whereas Pittman didn't necessarily. But like I said, he does everything well. I don't have many complaints. I think he's a guy that if he ended up here, I'd be ecstatic about it. So thank you for the comments. Got a super chat. This one from Captain Gaming. Thank you for the super chat, Captain Gaming. Captain Gaming writes, who do you see us grabbing in the 3rd or 4th round? Again, that's hard to say right now. It all really depends on how the draft falls. I've said this a million times. The draft is all about value. It's all about feeling like you're getting the most bang for your pick. All right? You want to feel like, oh my God, we just stole. What is this guy doing here? You want, and we're practicing social distancing in the war room, okay? But in the olden days, AKA last year, you want high fives in the war room and handshakes. Yeah. And pound game. Yeah. Feeling good. Hugs. Because you feel like you just stole a guy in the 3rd round. What is he doing here? We had a late 1st round grade on this guy. We had an early 2nd round grade. What is he doing here? We just got to steal. That's what you want. And it may not be at a position of need. That may turn out to be at guard. You had this guy, you're like, what? We drafted a guard? Well, they had a 1st round grade on this dude, and he's sitting here. They feel like they got tremendous value. All right? The draft is all about value. When you start drafting for need and you start taking players over better players because of need, and you start drafting need over talent, that's how you get yourself into trouble. That's how you end up back in the draft 2 years from now looking for the same position. All right? That's how you end up 3 years from now with a new coaching staff trying to do this thing all over again. So you got to make sure that you're not passing over talented football players because of need. And so obviously, if you're just asking me what we need in the 3rd round, it's a bevy of things, but I'm going to go back to my initial point. That, yep, we need a receiver. Yep, we could use a corner. Yep, we could use a left tackle. Yep, we could use a bevy of things. Another safety, if you're not confident in Sean Davis. We could use a bunch of things. Yeah, we could use a tight end. Absolutely. We don't have a tight end number 1 right now. But guess what? If one of those positions I just named supersedes the other because of value, you take that position. All of those positions could be positions of need, and there could be quality players on the board at that time. But what if there's a right guard or just a guard that can play all 3 interior positions that Redskins had an early 2nd round grade on, and here he is sitting there at the 3rd. And everybody else that they need positions at, tight end, receiver, left tackle, all of them, they've got third or fourth round grades on, but that guy they got a late first, early second grade on, and they decide to take that guy. You can't pass on that guy if he's sitting there. So, bottom line is what I'm telling you is that, yeah, we need a bunch of stuff, and if it's there, cool. You know, knock yourself out. But if you can find better value, that's what you do. So the third round, I think it's all about getting the best value. In the fourth round, that's when you start turning your attention to needs. You know, once you get to the fourth and really fifth, sixth, seventh, you start taking flyers on the guys that kind of fit needs and extreme talent. You know, maybe he underachieved in college, but you can make up all the excuses in the world for this guy. And generally, if you like a player, you'll find excuses as to why. And sometimes these excuses are actually reasons. There's a difference between reasons and excuses. But when you really like a guy, you'll find an excuse or you'll find a reason. So it'll be interesting to see what the Redskins do. They got 2 fourth rounders. You know, it'll be interesting to see what they do with those. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that third round pick. You know, and will they end up with a second before it's all said and done? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for the super chat. Captain Gaming. All right. Got a call. Gonna take it. You're on live with your man, Louis T. Who am I speaking with?
Mark Molyneux.
Hey, what's going on, Mark?
Not bad. Who do you think's gonna win cleaning up Trent's diaper?
I have no idea, man. I honestly can't tell you where he's gonna end up. It's a crapshoot right now, man.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Mark?
Nah.
Hey, man, you take it easy, Mark. Take care.
Shit.
Yep. All right. So got no more calls. Got no more super chats. Raekwon Bell says, should we get Raekwon Davis from Alabama? I don't think we need any more defensive tackles. I really don't. Now, I think they really like what they have along the defensive line. I don't know if they are looking to. And I just told you that you can never have enough. And if that's a guy they have a high grade on and he's sitting there, then so be it. But and Ron said there's nothing wrong with making your strength stronger. But at the same time, if he's close, again, in order for you to take a position that you already have an abundance of over positions of need, there needs to be a sizable gap between the grade you have on the player you're thinking about taking and the rest of the field. All right. If there's close proximity between Raekwon Davis and a receiver, or Raekwon Davis and a tight end, or Raekwon Davis and a tackle, then you got to go with the position of need. If there's not a sizable enough gap between him and all the other guys in all the other positions of need that you have, then that's where you got to say, all right, this is a really good football player. And we do have a slightly higher grade on him than the other guy, but guess what? This other guy kind of fits a need. So the discrepancy between the grade we have on him and the grade we have on this player, not great enough for us to pass up a need here. And so, especially when you look at the defensive line, that's the one position where I'm like, unless you feel like this guy is an absolute game changer, which Chase Young is, I don't think you really want to put yourself in a position where you're passing up a need necessarily. So we'll see what happens. But in any event, don't have any more super chats. I don't believe. Let me check to make sure. Don't have any more calls. So I am about to exit stage left. We've already eclipsed the 2-hour mark. So I'm about to glide to the side here in a second. But let me check one more time to make sure there are no super chats available before I exit stage left. Yeah, no more super chats. So I'm going to get out of here. Remember, check out the Louis T Network podcast if you haven't already done so. Remember, also check out tomorrow's show live. We're talking wide receivers. That should be a ton of fun. It's my favorite position to break down. So I'm very passionate about the receivers every single year. This year, more so than most, because it's loaded this year with a bunch of guys that have a set of skills that make them intriguing to not just the Redskins, but all 32 teams around the league. So tomorrow's probably going to be my favorite Draft 101 live show because it's my favorite position. It's the position I love the most. So looking forward to talking about receivers. In the meantime, though, I am a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington Redskins. I thank you guys for tuning in. It's been another great show. Can't thank you guys enough for your participation, your super chats, comments, calls, all of the above. You guys have been spectacular once again. Make sure you're staying safe out there. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the Louis T Network if you haven't already done so. But with that being said, I'm your man Louis T, signing off. You guys have a good one. Hopefully I'll see many of you tomorrow night, 9 p.m. live for Draft 101 Live Wide Receiver Edition. In the meantime, take care, stay safe, and we'll reconvene tomorrow. Have a good one.
Louis T Network.